Good afternoon. I'm Dana Tyler. This is your CBS2 update. It is Tuesday, September 11th, and it was a Tuesday 17 years ago when our lives changed forever in America. And today, the somber remembrances of the 9/11 terror attacks echoed across the country. On social media, people are sharing scenes and paying tribute to the more than 2,700 people who lost their lives that day in Lower Manhattan. American flags and roses line the reflecting pools where the North and South Towers once stood. CBS2's Janelle Burrell reports on today's ceremony there to pay tribute to the victims.
It was a moving ceremony, a day of reflection and tributes, and 17 years later, it understandably remains very difficult for the family and friends of those who were lost. One by one, their names were read.
Jeffrey Thomas Campbell. Robert Arthur Campbell.
A moment to honor each of the nearly 3,000 lives lost. Some of their loved ones pausing to share tributes.
My husband was a chef, and he went back into the building after getting hundreds out and tried to carry a woman out that was a quadriplegic from the 88th floor. He and 3 maintenance workers, they never made it out, but he'll always be our hero.
The gray day, a fitting backdrop for what's become a somber tradition on hallowed ground in the footprint of where the Twin Towers once stood. Bells tolling, marking the exact time of the attacks. For many, the painful memories as vivid as they were that September morning 17 years ago.
Whenever you see the footage of the planes hitting the tower, I think that the feeling just immediately comes back to you. Just how can something like that happen?
As time passes, Alice Greenwald, president and CEO of the National September 11th Memorial and Museum, says it's more important than ever to teach those who weren't here.
It is now time to take our memories and convert them into history and allow this next generation to understand what happened, why it happened, who it happened to, and also how we responded.
Out of all of the heartache, there has also been an enormous amount of good. Frank Siller lost his brother, firefighter Stephen Siller, who ran through the Battery Tunnel racing to help others after the attacks. The Stephen Siller Tunnel to Towers Foundation has since raised more than $85 million to help the families of men and women killed in the line of duty.
Take the time out to reflect on the goodness that was done that day. There was so much heroism on that day. My brother Stephen ran through a tunnel with 60 pounds of gear on his back, gave up his life, had 5 beautiful kids, beautiful wife. I stop today and reflect on the goodness that was done that day, not the bad.
Another testament to all of the renewal out of the tragedy here. The area around the World Trade Center has been thriving with new buildings, new restaurants, shops, and over the weekend, the reopening of the subway station for the first time since 2001. So it just truly shows how far we have come in the last 17 years. Reporting from Battery Park City, Janelle Burrell, CBS2 News.
We want to give a word of support and condolences to 2 members of the CBS2 family who died that day and were working, Isaias Rivera and Robert Pattison. Isaias was a CB2 engineer, CBS2 engineer, who worked at the television transmitter center atop the North Tower. He had survived the 1993 terror explosion in the garage at the World Trade Center. Robert was also a broadcast engineer. He'd served in the Air Force before starting with CBS. Both men were on the 110th floor of One World Trade at the time of the attacks, and they're friends here at CBS. We all give our condolences to the Rivera and Pattison families. President Trump and the First Lady were at the 9/11 memorial in Shanksville, Pennsylvania today, remembering the 40 passengers and 4 crew members killed when United Flight 93 went down in a field. Their names were read by their relatives in front of a new memorial honoring the heroes of Flight 93 who sacrificed themselves to take the flight down before it could make it to the U.S. Capitol. And bells rang in Arlington, Virginia, as the names of the 184 people killed at the Pentagon that day were read. Vice President Mike Pence laid a wreath at the memorial. The hijacked American Airlines Flight 77 crashed mid-morning 17 years ago today, killing 125 people inside the Pentagon and 59 passengers and crew members on the airplane. On Long Island, a fallen firefighter is honored by his son every September 11th, and in fact every single day. On 9/11, having just turned 17 years old, James Dowdell said goodbye to his father, Kevin, never thinking it would be the last time he saw him. Lieutenant Kevin Dowdell's service to the city lives on in his son.
Yeah, I followed in the footsteps of my father, who he was a fireman for 21 years. He loved it. He was dad, to me, and but that was the environment we grew up in.
Dowdell's remains were never found. However, one of his tools, a halogen, was found in the rubble with his initials KD engraved on it. Today, Kevin Dowdell is remembered as part of the 9/11 memorial in Breezy Point, where he lived. Stay with us for continuing coverage of this 17th anniversary of September 11th. We'll have much more throughout the day on CBSNewYork.com and on our newscasts tonight, CBS2 News at 5 and 6 o'clock. Now to the weather, and we are on storm watch. We saw the World Trade Center and all of the clouds surrounding One World Trade. Showers expected later today. Here's CBS 2's John Elliott with more on our forecast and the status of Hurricane Florence.
Good afternoon, everybody. We are looking at a more dynamic weather scene today. We've already seen some evidence of that extra lift in the atmosphere leading to some thunderstorms. So we'll see a few more, shooting for a high of 81. Now, I know it was a kind of a struggle this morning with all that fog, but that warm air is breaking through. So where we see these thunderstorms pop up, it's heavy rain. And it's a similar story tomorrow. Some of the models indicating individual storms could just bring drenching downpours. Again, it'll be the exception, not the rule. And we're mindful, too, of the risk that our neighbors are facing with the arrival of Florence. We actually have just a slight chance on Thursday, but then Friday, that storm comes on board to the south, and we see some evidence of that. I mean, you take a look at how active the tropics already are. Helene, Isaac, Florence, and then this developing storm. Right now, as we focus on Florence, the path still brings it into the Carolinas and then Virginia, but really, we're mindful of North Carolina. This could be the most potent storm to ever hit North Carolina, and the timing, again, is going to be Friday morning, hitting as a 3 or a 4, storm surge, wind, beach erosion, and just torrential rain. In our area, during the same pattern, we're going to see brighter skies and nicer numbers, but watch for beach advisories with the energy of that storm translating into our area as well. And watch out for the storms this afternoon.
As John mentioned, Hurricane Florence could be the strongest storm in North Carolina. Over 1 million Americans have already been asked to evacuate ahead of this Category 4 hurricane. And now a team of responders from our area, the New York area, is heading to North Carolina to provide whatever help they can in preparations and for whatever happens once the hurricane hits. The New York Task Force 1 Urban Search and Rescue Team deployed from Brooklyn this morning. The 83-member crew from the NYPD and the FDNY says they are trained for nearly any situation.
We're deploying a total of 17 vehicles. We're talking about tractor trailers, box trucks, pickup trucks, and 8 vans of first responders and equipment.
All our personnel are water trained. Many of them are boat operator trained. Quite a bit of experience on this team.
This team is expected to arrive in Kinston, North Carolina tonight. Okay, back in Manhattan, a crane dropped a beam at the Javits Center construction site this morning. Nobody was injured, but the traffic was halted from 34th Street to 42nd Street as the West Side Highway was closed in both directions. The good thing there, no injuries. False alarms that bring emergency response to homes on Long Island in one community could cost more. A proposed fee increase would give homeowners and businesses 2 false alarm responses with no charge. Then you'd get charged for false alarms after that. Under the plan, 3 false alarms within 2 years would cost $250. This is in Northport, Long Island. The fee would increase to $500 for a 4th false alarm and $1,000 for the 5th false alarm. A public hearing is being held on September 18th to discuss the proposal in Northport, Long Island. A theater on Long Island that's been around for 137 years needs a lot of help from its community. CBS 2's Carolyn Gussoff says that's the only way it's going to be saved.
We're in downtown Riverhead today in the Vale Levitt Theater, 137 years old. It's an incredible spot, and there's an effort now to save it. And I'm here with Bob Barda, who is spearheading this effort. what a place this is. A theater that's been here since what year?
1881.
And what does it need?
It needs primarily a new roof to get itself started, restarted. It's been operating for the last 15 years as a local music and production and presentation venue, and it's on national and state historic sites and is definitely worth being preserved.
And show us around real quick. It's incredible. When it was built in the late 1800s, of course, there was no electricity.
Right. So
no air conditioning.
Right. So the electricity is actually run now through the old gas lights, and those are reproductions of the original gas light fixtures which existed here. And then as far as air conditioning, there are some interesting little medallions on our ceiling which were used to hoist up dry ice and place them up there, and as it dissolved, it would cool the audience area down below.
And I've learned so much today. It's such an interesting place. You really feel like you're taking a step back into the 1800s. Thomas Edison's first talkies were experimented here. So we'll have much more coming up. For now, on air, online, and on Long Island, I'm Carolyn Gussoff.
That's your CBS2 update for this Tuesday afternoon. I'm Dana Tyler. We're always on at CBSNewYork.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, at CBS New York. See you later today on CBS 2 News on television at 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock.